Fitness Pro Mentor community, welcome to another business podcast for personal trainers. I am Brandon, and this is your co-host. Both of us are co-hosts, Brandon and Glenn. Today, we're going to talk to you a little bit how to make a post go viral on social media. I've been exploring, I'll be quite honest. Social media is an incredible exploration ground to really test your communication. In my opinion, if you're trying to become a great communicator, you should be testing on social media, because if you can't say something impactful in a few seconds, you're gonna have a really hard time saying something impactful in 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes. We're gonna talk about that today and go over some stats of stuff that I've explored with. But Glenn, how are you doing today?
Great, Brandon. How are you doing today?
I am doing good. If you are in Canada or aware, it is flippity-doo-dah cold here. So I would encourage you not to come visit Toronto. If anywhere, go to Palm Springs. Sounds warmer. And yeah, social media.
Yes, going viral, Brandon. This is where I think you probably have a wee bit more experience than I do. You've grown your social media page for Drum Mechanics by how much? How much has been the past 2 years?
Oh, it's nearly, I was at 5,000 from just my playing, and I'm at nearly 55,000 now.
Right. So, and you have at this time gone through having your posts grab more and more attention, going viral, so to speak. If it's okay, one of the actually things I think I'd like to start with here is, how do you define going viral? What does that mean to you? Just so we're on the same page.
Yeah. So if you're looking at the stats, I would define it as that you're reaching a massive people that are outside of your followership. So if you have 10 followers, you'll be able to see in your stats when you post a video, if it has 100 views, what percentage of that is people that already know you and what percentage of people that don't follow you. So you ideally, when, in my opinion, have something go viral. Yes, a lot of views, but you want to have the majority of the people that see the thing, people who are not following you within your social circle. And the goal of that, of course, is for audience growth.
Right. So now this is the $1 million question for exercise professionals. I'll backtrack and say this first. I think when a lot of people hear go viral, they think of something where everybody in the world, or most people who spend time on social media or aware of pop culture, have heard about that thing, right? Like, what's a good example? Like Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift dating went viral when people first heard about it, and everyone kind of knew about it for the most part, right?
I didn't know that. But Hawk too.
But right, Hawk, like some version of that, right? That's typically people refer to as going viral. I think one of the important things to maybe suss out here is going to be, what should viral look like for a personal trainer or an exercise professional who's looking to grow their following? Do you really want to get known around the world by everybody? Is that possible if you're going to be focusing on just one topic matter? And where should we maybe set the bar or our standards for going viral for exercise professionals?
It's a great question. In my opinion, if you're going to try it, when we talk about this for personal trainers who have small services, I would like to see, when I call it viral, I don't necessarily mean 1 million views, although that is very cool. I think if you have a post that gets 10x viewership from your followership, that is a great place to go. Because it means that if you've got 300 followers and 3,000 people follow it, that is kind of small scale viral, because obviously 10x people saw it. So I think that is a great place to aim. With social media, well, truthfully, the whole point of this conversation is, in reality, this is a storytelling communication exercise, an impact exercise. Because if we're taking any sort of content, and I do believe as in-service personal trainers, there's a lot of value here, be it how you communicate something in a session, right? You have 45 seconds in between sets. So how can you say something impactful that is knowledgeable and relevant to the client? So learning how to improvise quick pain points, resolutions, and maybe something they can take away from it is extremely important. And then frankly, if you're someone who's an educator, when I was learning how to teach RTS, the Resistance Training Specialist program by Tom Purvis, this is all I did, was I would try and take really, really big concepts and figure out how quickly and short and concisely but accurately could I say something.
So this is where I think the meat and potatoes is. And if you didn't hear Brandon specifically say it, please hone on to this now. If your goal is to make more money and help more people, you're really looking to go viral within the community of people that would benefit from your services. When Brandon does content for Drum Mechanics, he's not looking to go necessarily universally viral with everybody. And quite frankly, it's very hard with just drumming stuff, and I'll tell you why in a second. He's looking to go viral and get more well-known and explode his viewership among people who are passionate about drums. It's something they consume on a daily basis, or something like at least on a weekly basis they're into. That's where Brandon wants to be. It's the same thing for you. If you are trying to promote either like your online service, or if you're a one-to-one personal trainer, or you're just trying to grow your exercise professional brand, you want to be getting in front of people who are going to benefit from your services and your knowledge, and are going to want to invest in you either with their time, money, just their even just their attention, so to speak. So that's kind of like the first thing here. The reason why you will likely never go viral if your niche is one specific thing like exercise is because if you're to go truly viral, and like let's call it something getting like over 1 million views per se, right? Like truly viral. What you're actually looking at is covering a topic or a piece of information that very, very many people can relate to in such a way where like the story or what is being shared is either very intriguing or is very funny or is very informative or is all encompassing in one of those different regards, either extremely impactful from like an entertainment perspective or an information perspective. If you think about anything that's ever gone viral like that, it's usually something that's very relatable to a very large amount of people. If you're discussing exercise, especially like weight loss or like mobility or joint mechanics, or if you're brand talking about like fitness for drummers, that's an even smaller piece of the pie. So don't expect to have like millions and millions of viewers unless you eventually take that brand that you've created with a small amount of people and find a way to expand that far beyond just the drum bits and still maintain your individual viewer base, which is very hard to do outside the scope of this conversation. But like short of the long here is like you want to think about getting to go viral with the kind of people that you want to work with if your goal is helping more people and making more money.
So I started experimenting with social media on the drum mechanic stuff. I'm extremely passionate about drums. And one thing I always wanted to do is always figure out how could I, turn this into something that's fun, but does not make me feel like I'm working that hard. Because one thing I have always done in my careers, when I first started, if you don't know this, I worked at a comic book store when I was 13 years old. I spent a lot of time learning how to become really good at painting action figures called Warhammer. When I was 13, I got second place in a painting contest that was like an international thing, but it was in Toronto, which is very cool. And then people started paying me to start painting their Warhammer miniatures. I fucking hated it. Pardon my French. I hated it so much because what ended up happening is I was about painting and it was art and it was creative. And then people were like, here's my army. I want to paint it purple and green and don't do this and do this. And I all of a sudden had all these limitations on my creative process and it took away all the passion for me. And I've done that kind of thing many times over my years. So when we're going through Fitness Pro Mentors, to give a bit of a backstory, I have shared, if you look, on YouTube, I've shared so much information on how you can use social media as a vehicle to do many things. Sell, grow your audience, build your trust. There's many tools, and I still encourage everyone should be considering this. You should be doing social media for many different reasons, although it may not bring you a ton of money right off the bat. You'd be doing it as an exercise to learn more about yourself and your product and what people care about hearing. I was starting to get frustrated with some students because I was giving people all this advice on how to grow their business, and they were saying, it doesn't work for me, it doesn't work for me. And I said, okay, watch. And I started just experimenting with a niche under the drum mechanic stuff. And what started happening was just by doing the work and having fun with it and not giving myself more than 10 minutes each morning, things started getting a lot of viewership. So talking about viral posts, agreeing 100% with Glenn, I have a page that's devoted to fitness for drummers. On that page has nearly 55,000 followers. Very cool. I've had 2 videos hit over 1 million people, a handful of videos get over 500,000 views, and I've lost count how many videos over 100,000 views. And if I look at all those videos, the 2 that went over 1 million were extremely general pieces of information around health and for musicians that anyone could take information away from. The one that were 500,000 were things that, again, anyone who knows anybody in the music industry could take something away from. And then the ones that were 100,000s were mostly very general for drummers. So if you think of how many drummers are on Instagram, there's probably not millions of drummers. There's definitely not millions, maybe 1 or 2, but there's not, 10 million or 100 million. So the 1 million post I can think of was me literally talking about age-related muscle loss. And it was like a 10-second video where I showed a picture of different slides of muscle at different ages. And I talk about how, as drummers, you need to exercise because if you're not exercising regularly, I can't remember the wording I said, but as drummers, you need to be resistance training regularly. It is the #1 tool to stay away from sarcopenia. Here's a perfect example of age-related muscle loss that you will experience if you don't exercise. And it was like, got up to 1 million. The thing about that, though, which I thought was interesting, is that this is for an international audience. My client who's coming at 4 o'clock today, who's a pianist, saw it. My friend other client who's a guitar player, saw it. And all these people that didn't know me saw that pop up and they saw the pictures of the muscles, what I thought was really, really interesting. The whole point here, though, is instead of talking about my success with this, here's what you can take away. I've been working with a few of our students to really get them to grow their audience base so they can use their personal brand and leverage it for whatever they want to do going forward. I've done it with several professional drummers. I've done it with myself. And now we're doing it with some of the FPM students who want to do that. It is a very simple formula. First and foremost, like Glenn said, who is this content for, right? If you're doing fitness stuff, right, exercise and pain is one particular niche. But then if you look at the broader scope of stuff like longevity health, there's some information you can share that everyone can benefit from. And it doesn't need to be in your yellow or purple gym or whatever it may be. It can be for everybody. That's number one. Who is this for? Two, it needs to be impactful, right? Like the content you share needs to shock someone, be entertaining, or provide a solution that they don't know the answer for. And then finally, number three, you have to think of it as an impactful story, right? No matter what you do, you have 5 seconds tops to do a powerful hook to get someone to watch the rest of the video. And usually, you might know the numbers better than me. I believe it's the first 3 to 5 seconds. People they will decide if they're watching the video on social media, Instagram, within the first few. I think YouTube's longer, but for social media, let's say you got 3 seconds. And if you don't capture someone's attention in 3 seconds, they're going to move on to the next thing because there is endless amounts of content. I couldn't even imagine how much is posted every minute. So you need a very clear hook as to what the video is going to do. Then you need some middle content, which could either be additional shock value, a fact on the hook, or you could merely get straight into the solution, and then you need to provide a clear solution or resolution. So a perfect example is yesterday I did a video, and I was just experimenting with it for students. And all it was, what was it? It was, how to get your bass drum foot faster. And all I did was I did a shock value. I recorded me playing some fast bass drum strokes for 4 seconds. No talking. And then it was me quickly saying, if you want to improve your bass drum speed, here are the things you need to consider. It was like 10 seconds. And then I went straight into 3 exercise examples. And the whole video was 70 seconds long, which is long. It got like 24,000 views in 24 hours. And it's because it was like, there was a bit of entertainment at the beginning. There was some clear science setting up what I'm going to do. And then there were 3 resolutions before I continue.
Yeah. No, we're good. No, keep banging them out, buddy.
So the thing that I would encourage everyone to do, right? Because many people have heard this kind of thing. You got to have a pain, you got to have a resolution, you got to make the video short. What I would encourage everyone to do is within your niche, experiment with the remix and sequence features on Instagram. Remix is taking someone else's video and you can use it as a green screen or supporting video, or you can do dual screen, and basically you can use someone else's video and you can talk over and use it as an educational thing. So how do you do this? Well, you could have someone doing a crazy exercise that you think absolutely makes no sense, and you can provide some overlaying green screen facts where you remove the background audio and you share some information, right? One of my favorite examples is Sam, one of our students. He did one of this crazy CrossFitter doing some single leg glute ham raises. And he hadn't been doing any of this stuff. And I think it got like 2,000 views. And literally the video wasn't even any that entertaining, right? The person was doing this flailing around thing and he did the reaction video. Oh, what is going on here? And it got like 2,000 views, which is other videos were like between 300 and 500. So you can do that and you can provide great facts. There's a great person I believe who took RTS named Ben Yanes, who's got 750,000 followers. He's done a great job of like doing the Squat University thing, but adding way more scientific science to it. Look at him for an example if you want to get into the exercise stuff. He has a clear understanding of mechanics and is very concise and powerful and doesn't say anything that's biased. Like I really appreciate the way he's doing them. The other one is sequencing. And I like this. I've been experimenting with it more because if someone's got a long form video and there's like 3 seconds that you're like, this is franken nuts. I got to change. I want to talk about this. You can chop the video up to get any seconds you want. And then you can record a video outside of Instagram to go with it. Right? So you could have that same person doing that crazy glute ham exercise. And you go, when you do an exercise like this, the risk of you injuring your hamstring is high because of something called eccentric muscle damage and rotational inertia. If you want to try and grow a bunch of muscle, here's how you should do it. And you could get right into the example. Or like Ben Yanes does, you can actually get the skeleton and try and do the muscle thing like Tom Purvis does and many of the people in our ecosystem. But the great thing about remixing and sequence outside of being able to borrow someone else's content, which gets into expert status, as we've talked about before. Instagram, Meta, loves collaborative content, right? They love when you take Glenn's video and you do something on top of it and then try and populate it out, especially with accounts that are extremely popular. Like if you go to my video or Glenn's video, the viewership may not be that high on it or popular, so doing that might not be. But you go to like a Lane Norton video, and maybe you disagree with a point that he says, or you have a study that contradicts something he says. If you have a point where he says a fact and you chop it out in 5 seconds and then you do something contrary right after, that kind of stuff goes really, 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 really well. So here's my quick Cole's notes for you. Kind of wrap this up to give you some power. 1, if you're going to try and have something get a lot of impact, make your hook 5 seconds, have a very clear, entertaining piece of fact after, not something just random or slow, or have a clear resolution, right? You need a clear resolution of something that you're going to give people, and if you can change someone's lives in 25 seconds, that's extremely powerful. 2, play with the sequence and remix feature, and you may not have success the first time you do it, but really experiment with it day after day until you figure it out. You will find that if you're a fitness professional and Instagram recognizes you keyword as a fitness pro, that you're going to want to use fitness-related content. If you get some content that is unrelated to that and you try and make it about fitness, it's just not going to jive so well. So make sure you stay within your lane for the first while until your profile gets some inertia. 3, you've said this many times, I learned this from you and I've been using it for a long time, is facial expressions are extremely important. So try to use some animated facial expressions that go along with the emotion of the thing you're about to touch, not just random ones, but really make sure if you're like shocked, try and be shocked for a second, even for a split second to use for the thumbnail. One hack that I've done is if I'm borrowing someone else's clip, whatever I record, I screenshot a face shot of myself that has the thumbnail I want to use, and I overlay my facial expression, and you can modify, you can auto crop it in Instagram, which is really good. I use the circle a lot. So that way you can have, for example, Lane Norton talking about a fact, and you can have your face doing this, and you can have both you and Lane Norton on the screen at the same time, which is great for a thumbnail. All you need is some sort of hook to get people to watch it. And this makes sure that the content is connected to you and Lane or whomever you might be using. So, short, powerful content. Try and think about who it's for. Is this for everybody or is this for just my niche? Use the sequence and remix feature to really explode people seeing you quickly. Try and modify the thumbnail so you can be involved. Use emotion, and honestly, consistency is key. And my last point, and I'm sorry for ranting over all of this.
No, we're good. We're good.
The last thing I want to just say with all of this is many students I've tried to talk to about this will go, social media is not for me, or this doesn't make sense for me. To be honest, this is the easiest, most accessible communication tool. If you are like, I want to create this, I want to try and change something in my business, try to do it on social media. Because if you can't get random people to pay attention to the interesting facts that you're sharing, if they're truly interesting, how will you get someone right in front of you to give you over $100 for it? I think this is the most critical thing, because it's, if you can't get someone to pay attention to you for free, right? Their currency is just time. How will you get time and money? For me, it has been a tool that I have used for over a decade to enhance my communication, make me better at teaching, and frankly, help me niche down what people actually care about. Because if you are trying to do something new, you have like, I want to do all of these things, and you post them online and 2 things hit, then you know, okay, wait a second. That 60% was cool to me, but not to my audience. And you can go from there and then figure out what people want more of. I got one thing.
No, go for it. We're good.
There's one of our students has been experimenting, and he'll listen to this, I hope, with functional medicine related content. And whenever someone says like, I'm going to do functional medicine or postmenopause social media content, I always go, okay, great, but what problem are you solving? And there's always a litany of things that they suggest that they're solving. I always tell them, post it online and see what hits. Because postmenopause is a very powerful niche, but only for a short period of time, right? Post high school athletes or people who are retiring athletes who are moving into playing pickleball, that's a small window of people. Functional medicine is like an everything thing, right? Is it weight loss? Is it muscle growth? Is it muscle growth or weight loss for 60-year-olds or for 30-year-olds? So just experiment and see what hits, because then you're going to find out between your personal brand, how you look, how you communicate, and how the content all comes together to figure out what people actually care about. Rant over.
Fantastic. Then I'll transition to my pick of the week, which will be it'll be a good segue off of what you said. So I will add onto my pick of the week, which is something I was thinking about doing, but now I got to for sure do it. Let's also not forget analytics. One of the ways that you are going to figure out whether your post is successful, aside from the primary, how much viewership did it get, is actually going to be if you go into the post. And it requires a certain amount, not too many, maybe 50 or 100 different people watch it. But after you see 50, 100 people watch the post, you can actually see average watch time, which will essentially tell you when did people start dropping off your video. So if it's like after the first 5 or 6 seconds, it's a good chance that either the hook wasn't good enough or the content wasn't something that people care about. And as you start going on for longer, what you can start doing is then going back through your videos and being like, okay, people watched for 15 seconds. It's a 30-second video. What did I do at the 15-second mark where I started losing people? What made that happen? So I would say once you start getting a little bit better just speaking to the camera and your ideas are a little bit more clear and formed and you think you're on the right track, then is the time to start going back and looking at your data and seeing where am I falling off, because where you're falling off is going to directly indicate what portion of your actual post or your reel or whatever it is that you're putting out there that you need to tighten up.
Yeah, and I think that's great. And I mean, off of what I said and what Glenn said, like, I would encourage everyone, like, try to use those analytics to make content to see if you can make it pop. And then also don't be afraid of making content that you know that's not.
Yeah.
Like, if you're like, okay, this is an important video I'm going to put out there. It's probably only going to get a few views, but this is some great knowledge to be out there. Don't be afraid. Like, don't be afraid to do that stuff as well. But there's great games and playing, like trying to gamify this to figure out how you can take it further.
Yeah, and have some fun. I mean, have some fun while you do it too, because if you just end up hating it, you're just like Warhammer, and Brandy's going to hate doing it. So
Did you say Wormhammer?
Warhammer. Just have fun when you're doing it too. Play around, have some focus, have a direction, but enjoy the process too. The last thing I would say.
So my pick of the week is going to be a sidestep, and one thing that we've talked about over the time is doing personalized gifts when you have a referral relationship, network relationship, or something like that. And one thing I'll say, okay, so as the gym owner, every Christmas I've always given the staff prepaid credit cards. And I thought that was a really cool gift because like you can get whatever you want and whatnot. And then I won't say who, but someone that works here, not Glenn because he's right here, but it doesn't matter who, but I bought something for somebody and he owed me a little bit of money. And so he gave me one of the credit cards back like 6 months later. And I was like, oh, okay. So I don't know if people are actually using these things. They're just ending up in a drawer. So one thing that I decided to do this year, which is, pretty much the same value, is I got all the staff custom engraved Yetis, which I thought was pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool. Like everyone's got the exact same cup now. Now what's kind of fun about this though is that, and I'm not trying to just toot everybody's horn here because I love everybody here, but I wanted to get something that people actually used, right? It's got Glenn's name on it. It's got double personal message for him, but it's got the Strata logo on it. I thought this was great. The whole point here is that I love my staff and I want to give them all something that they're going to actually use. I gave this, Glenn said, thank you so much. I know that you won't skimp on quality. Yeah, everyone in here is using it. And so I'm not telling you to go buy your staff Yeti depending on the size of your team because these are not inexpensive by any means. But what I am saying is if you have relationships of any sort, your staff, anyone in your community, don't be afraid to invest into them, especially if it's going to change their life. Like I love seeing everyone use this product and I think that it's going to have great dividends. And what's also cool is that there's a level of camaraderie where everyone in the clients are like, where do I get one of those red things? And it's pretty cool. So if you have relationships in your ecosystem, don't be afraid of personalized gifts. I really think it's great. I'm really happy with this. And it's just fun to build camaraderie in your team.
Nailed it.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with the Fitness Pro Mentor podcast. Listen, we work with a lot of trainers just like you to help them grow their business and scale their teams. And it's incredible success this year. And we got a really exciting 2025. You got any questions, message me, message Glenn, message Taylor, and we'll see y'all real soon.
Have a good one, everyone. Cheers.